Hey there, welcome back to Psychology Amazing. Today's topic might just shake up the way you see relationships, especially the quiet, hidden tactics that often slip under the radar. We're diving into something that happens more than people like to admit, the subtle ways some men manage to control and manipulate women without them even realizing it. Now, before we go further, I want to be super clear. This isn't about hating on men. And it's not about painting every guy with the same brush. There are good and genuine men out there. And then there are those who, knowingly or unknowingly, use psychological tricks to gain control in relationships. This conversation is about recognizing those patterns, shining light on them, and helping you or someone you know avoid falling into emotional traps. So grab your coffee, get comfortable, because we're about to unpack the psychology behind control and manipulation in a way you probably haven't heard before. Now picture this. It always starts off sweet. Charming words, thoughtful gestures, and a sense of being understood on a deep level. It feels almost too good to be true, and in a way it often is. What's happening is the beginning of emotional conditioning, which can be as subtle as a compliment, or as dramatic as a grand romantic gesture. But the thing that's easy to miss is how these actions aren't always about love. Sometimes they're about creating dependency. See, a lot of people think manipulation looks loud and obvious, but the truth is, it's usually quiet. It's not about screaming or shouting, it's about planting seeds of self-doubt, of emotional reliance, and even seeds of guilt. And over time, the person on the receiving end, often women, start adjusting their thoughts, feelings, and even their behaviors without fully realizing why. Let's take the classic scenario of emotional withdrawal. One moment everything's fine. The conversations flow, the connection feels electric, and suddenly, silence. The texts slow down, the calls become rare, and the affection just vanishes into thin air. And just like that, confusion and anxiety creep in. The woman starts questioning herself. Did I do something wrong? Is he upset? How do I fix this? This shift isn't random. It's a form of silent punishment that subtly forces you to chase their attention, to bend over backward for their approval, and before you know it, control has been established. And the thing is, it's addictive. Your brain starts craving that emotional high, the way you crave chocolate after a long day. That hit of dopamine when the attention finally returns. It creates a cycle. Neglect, reward, neglect, reward. And every time the reward comes, the attachment grows deeper. It's not just about emotions. It's biology working against you. Another layer of manipulation often shows up in the form of disguised criticism. It's not the straight-up, harsh insults you'd expect. Instead, it's dressed up as helpful advice or concern. A man might say something like, "You'd look so much better if you wore something different," or "You're really smart, but you talk too much." Sounds like advice, right? But underneath the surface, these comments chip away at self-esteem, little by little. The goal is to make the woman feel like she needs to be fixed, and conveniently, he becomes the only person who knows how. And what's even more fascinating is how this control can be wrapped up in generosity. Think about it. Gifts, favors, even financial help. On the surface it seems kind, even romantic. But if you peel back the layers, sometimes those gifts come with invisible strings attached. A quiet expectation that the woman will feel obligated, maybe even trapped. And over time, those favors start to feel less like love and more like a leash. Another subtle way this plays out is through isolation. It doesn't always look like someone forcing you to cut ties with friends or family. Often it starts with innocent suggestions. Your best friend doesn't really seem to like me. Or maybe, why do you always have to talk to your sister about our problems? Slowly but surely, the social circle tightens and the woman finds herself relying more and more on him for connection, validation, and support. And when you only have one source for emotional comfort, the balance of power is no longer equal. And let's not forget the role of gaslighting. Now, gaslighting is a word people throw around a lot, but at its core, it's about making someone question their own reality. Imagine pointing out something hurtful or dishonest, only to be met with, "That never happened." Or worse, "You're just too sensitive." The moment a person starts doubting their own memory, emotions, or instincts, they become much easier to control. And the wild thing is, this kind of manipulation isn't always done with cruel intentions. Sometimes it's a learned behavior, a survival mechanism, or even a response to insecurity. But no matter where it comes from, the effect is the same. One person slowly gains control, and the other slowly loses their sense of self. It's important to understand that manipulation doesn't require aggression. In fact, it often thrives in calm, polite conversations. It sneaks into the pauses, the choices of words, the tone of voice. It's in the guilt trips, the emotional withdrawals, the perfectly timed silence. And the longer it goes unchecked, the harder it becomes to see clearly. Now, the real power lies in awareness. Once you start to spot these patterns, you'll notice the same stories playing out in different forms, in romantic relationships, friendships, even work environments. The moment you stop ignoring your instincts and start trusting those little gut feelings, you begin to break free from the emotional strings that others quietly pull. So if you've ever felt like you're constantly trying to prove your worth to someone, or if you've ever found yourself walking on eggshells around a person you care about, take a step back. Ask yourself, am I being respected or am I being controlled? Because the difference can shape your entire emotional world. And let me tell you this, love, real love, doesn't demand obedience. It doesn't create fear. It doesn't make you feel small. Real connection empowers you, uplifts you, and encourages you to grow. Manipulation does the exact opposite. It feeds off your insecurities, magnifies your doubts, and leaves you feeling hollow even when you're surrounded by attention. If you ever spot the signs, don't blame yourself. Manipulation is designed to be hard to detect, but once you see it for what it is, the game changes. You take back the control and you start rewriting your own story, one choice at a time. All right. So that's the truth behind how manipulation and control often sneak into relationships without waving any red flags. It's subtle, it's psychological, and it can happen to anyone. But the more you understand it, the easier it becomes to spot and stop. Thanks for hanging out with me today on Psychology Amazing. If this conversation struck a chord, don't forget to share it with someone who might need to hear it. And remember, your mind, your heart, and your self-worth aren't meant to be owned or managed by anyone but you. Stay curious, stay aware, and until next time, take care of yourself.